Tonight, crime rate. Numbers continue to fall in Dawson Creek. Wanted. Fort St. John police looking for a man wanted for sexual assault. And warning to parents. Police say kids are riding ATVs inside city limits. Good evening and thank you for joining us. We begin tonight with the number of crimes in the city of Dawson Creek continuing to trend downward. Violent crime like assaults are on the rise. However, overall, the crime rate continues to fall. The Dawson Creek RCMP says in a report, the amount of stolen vehicles has decreased by 30%, while theft from vehicles, that's gone up by 79%. It shows a decrease of 10 break-ins to residents and a decrease of 19 break-ins to businesses in 2025 so far. Now, Mounties say the calls for drug possession and drug trafficking went up by 129% this year to a total of 16 calls. The report also shows 72 calls of impaired driving. That's an increase of 60% so far this year. The RCMP say property crime and mental health issues continue to be the reason for most of the calls. They've received 384 mental health related calls so far this year, and that's an increase of 28%. Police say they're still seeing an overall decrease in crime across Dawson Creek, and they add the amount of charges laid has resulted in that decrease. Dawson Creek RCMP say groups like Citizens Take Action, Rural Crime Watch, and Citizens on Patrol have also been a big help in reducing the number of property thefts. The Fort St. John RCMP are asking for the public's help to find a man wanted on various warrants, including 2 counts of sexual assault. Ralph Jr. Akla is wanted for 7 outstanding warrants. Mounties say Akla is also known to frequent Fort St. John and the Halfway River First Nation. He's described as an Indigenous male standing 5 feet 10 inches tall. He also has black hair and brown eyes. Mounties are asking anyone with any information to contact them or to contact Crime Stoppers. Well, as summer gets into full swing, police in Fort St. John are asking parents to speak to their kids about riding dirt bikes and quads in the city. Mounties say they've received an increase in the number of complaints about riders who are unsafely operating their off-road vehicles, many in places that they should not be. The majority of complaints stem from unsafe and erratic operation of off-road vehicles on streets throughout Fort St. John and walking past, or from drivers riding without helmets. Most of the complaints are from pedestrians or homeowners along the Solar Trail in the city's northwest. The city of Fort St. John already has posted signage prohibiting off-road vehicles from utilizing the solar path. Now, police say penalties will be enforced, including a $100 city bylaw ticket for operating an off-road vehicle within the boundaries of the city. A fine up to $138 can also be levied for those not wearing a helmet. The BC Wildfire Service says some areas of the province will see smokier conditions this week as a result of ongoing wildfires. Thick smoke in the Fort Nelson area causing Environment Canada to issue a special air quality statement. The Fort Nelson River wildfire is now being held. It's burning near the Fort Nelson First Nation Fontes Reserve. The fire has grown to nearly 12,500 hectares in size. 2 other nearby fires are also being held. There are about 70 wildfires burning across the province. The service says about 20% of those are deemed to be burning out of control. The province of Alberta says it's monitoring the situation in the municipal district of Greenview, just south of Grand Prairie, after the district declared an agricultural disaster. The MD of Greenview includes Grand Cache, Fox Creek, and Valley View. Council there says unexpected drought, lack of hay, and the infestation of grasshoppers has been catastrophic for livestock. And it's all taking a mental toll on the people living there.
We're into 25 and already we're only in July and it's early. Crops are failing. It's not looking good. So that all weighs on everybody's, when that's your livelihood, it's huge.
Greenview says it wants financial help from the province to support the farmers and recognize the issues at large. As for the province, they say there are many programs that offset financial impacts, and it points to the Agri-Stability Program. Its deadline has been extended to July the 31st. Alberta is now dealing with a measles outbreak that's gone beyond the numbers recorded in the entire United States, and it's overwhelmed some hospitals and forced triage patients to the parking lots. CTV's Kathy Lee has more on how the situation in Alberta has become so dire.
Medical and infectious disease experts CTV News spoke to say the province is where it's at because not enough people are vaccinated against measles and not enough was done at the early stages of the outbreak. Alberta does have a measles awareness campaign and did expand access to immunizations in highly impacted zones, but health experts say it's too late and we're playing catch up.
It wasn't taken as seriously as it should have been. I think they felt that it would peter out, that it was isolated certain communities, it would go away. It hasn't.
Now, Alberta has more confirmed cases of measles than all of the United States. This is putting a strain on the healthcare system. Some hospitals like the Grey Nuns in Edmonton are triaging patients in ambulances so they don't bring measles into the ER.
We have seen, dozens, unfortunately, of people requiring hospitalization, including more than a dozen pediatric kids requiring intensive care unit care. Measles is a serious infection. It is something that strains the healthcare system, and we really need to be working and considering all options to bring this back under control.
95% of the population needs to have full protection against the virus to achieve herd immunity. While immunization rates have increased in some parts of the province, there are others that are only at 50%. The Alberta government says the measles transmission rate has been slowing down, but there were 30 new cases diagnosed just last weekend. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Calgary.
An ostrich farm in BC has been fighting to stave off an order to cull its remaining herd after dozens of birds were infected by avian flu last winter. Today, the fate of the 400 of the world's largest birds was debated in federal court of appeal. CTV's Judy Trin is at the courthouse with more.
The fight to save these ostriches has moved from remote BC to a federal courtroom. The ostrich farm owners are appealing an order by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency for a mass cull after positive tests for avian flu. The owners say the remaining herd has recovered.
We have almost 400 ostriches that are 182 days healthy today and loving life.
The court heard that the CFIA made their decision in just 41 minutes after getting 2 positive tests for H5N1 in December. 69 birds did die in the avian flu outbreak. Not all were tested. The owners lost their previous court challenge in May, but their case has gained support from Donald Trump's administration. Former American TV host Mehmet Oz offered to provide the ostriches sanctuary at his Florida ranch, while Secretary of Health Robert F. Kennedy Jr. wrote a letter asking Canadian authorities to spare the birds in the name of science.
We're a recovered flock. We offer so much more opportunity to Canada than we do live, than we do slaughtered.
The owners say the ostriches are also being used in COVID research to develop antibodies. But the Food Inspection Agency denied them a research exemption because they did not provide documentation of the studies. Supporters of the farm say this is an example of government overreach.
The health department needs to look after other issues, not kill off someone's livelihood.
But virologists say avian flu can remain in the herds without symptoms, and a mass culling is the most effective way of preventing spread of the disease.
Stop the virus roll of the dice, and we do that by stopping the virus whenever we can. Don't give it an opportunity to pass through animals. Don't give humans an opportunity to come into contact.
It's unlikely for the Federal Court of Appeal to render its decision today, but if they lose, the farm owners say they will take their fight all the way to the Supreme Court. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
Well, in other news tonight, the cost of Donald Trump's tariffs is starting to show up in the price of goods that Americans buy as inflation shot up south of the border last month to 2.7%. Canada also recorded an increase in inflation, rising to 1.9%. It's not as high as the U.S., but still enough to make it uncomfortable for Canadians. CTV's Abigail Beeman has more.
I bought it late, and the price was very high.
The cost of living is definitely not equivalent to what like an entry-level job or even like a decent paying job.
Overall, new numbers from Statistics Canada show the Consumer Price Index rose 1.9% year over year in June, and that's up from 1.7% in May. But important to note, when you take energy out of the equation, the number is much higher, 2.7%, and that's in part because of the removal of the carbon tax. Gas prices continue to be lower, though June's decline was smaller than in May. And of course, many people are focused on the cost of food. The good news for your grocery bill is food prices are increasing at a slower pace, largely driven by a decline in vegetable prices, specifically helped by cheaper onions and cucumbers. And car prices are up 4.1%. Used cars jumped 1.7%, and that's the first year-over-year increase in 18 months. Statistics Canada doesn't have much to say about the impact of U.S. tariffs, with some economists believing it may be too early to feel the impact.
If anything, that should be depressing prices because it's restricting our exports, that's weakening our markets, but I don't think that's having a big impact. We didn't levy counter tariffs on many things, and we've already pulled back on a number of them.
These numbers are the last look the Bank of Canada has at price data before the next interest rate decision that's coming July 30th. The key interest rate currently sits at 2.75%. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
It's back to court again for Hudsons Bay, this time in an effort to maintain the sale of its leases to BC billionaire Ruby Liu. One of the Bay's biggest lenders is asking the court to terminate the sale of the company's leases to Liu, accusing the retailer of mishandling its liquidation process. The lender is also seeking a court-appointed oversight as the retailer winds down business. Now, the Bay maintains the deal with Liu, which still needs landlord and court approvals, is the best shot it has at paying back its creditors. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister has put Canadians on notice. Mark Carney is casting doubt on Canada securing a tariff-free trade deal with the United States. Carney has made some modified messaging as he met virtually with his cabinet to discuss U.S. President Donald Trump's threat of increased tariffs. CTV's Rachel Aiello reports.
I expect that the discussions will intensify between now and the end of the month.
Staring down an August 1st deadline, today the Prime Minister convened a rare summer cabinet meeting to discuss U.S. President Donald Trump's latest 35% tariff threat. With the goalpost moved again, Carney lowered expectations that Canada can get a deal that would result in Trump dropping all tariffs, noting that so far no country has managed to secure a tariff-free trade agreement with the U.S.
It certainly comes off as a bit of a wake-up call.
It's an admission this lawyer, who used to litigate for Canada against the United States, says sends a clear signal to businesses.
If a baseline tariff does look like it's going to stick, then all of a sudden you can't operate in that environment forever, and you have to make real lasting decisions with respect to your customers and your suppliers.
Trump today sounded more optimistic about how talks are going.
We're negotiating with Canada right now, and we'll see how that all works out. I think it's going to work out very well.
This comes as data suggests Canadians are split on their confidence in Carney delivering a deal. New polling shows 63% of Canadians surveyed said they want the Prime Minister to push back and take a harder line in negotiations, while 37% prefer a softer approach.
Domestic confidence is going to be important. Carney needs to feel like he has a mandate from the people of Canada.
Carney campaigned on a promise to take on Trump with his elbows up. But since winning the election, even as the president has ratcheted up the trade war, Canada has not levied any new retaliatory tariffs on the U.S. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
While Canada grapples with more heat waves and other intense wildfire season, there are new concerns about whether the country's electricity grids can keep the power on as Canadians prepare for more frequent and more severe weather events. CTV's Ruxar Ali has the details.
Extreme weather events have left thousands of Canadians without power, sometimes for weeks, and climate change could make it worse.
The grid that we have today has not been designed for accommodating such extreme scenarios.
Between 2013 and 2023, Canada's 10 most significant weather events that impacted power grids caused about 20 million electricity interruptions to customers.
More shortfalls can occur during these extreme weather events, and it poses a serious concern for reliability.
A recent report from the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, or NERC, found that most provinces were found to be increasingly vulnerable during extreme weather. putting them at risk of shortfalls. Nova Scotia, one of the most vulnerable.
We've had Hurricane Dorian, Hurricane Fiona, which is the biggest storm we've ever had in Nova Scotia. We had Hurricane Lee, we've had wildfires, floods, pretty much everything, and all of those have weakened the power system.
Utilities like this in the province are taking some future-proofing steps by swapping out older poles with stronger ones.
The lightning hits, and all of a sudden there is a short circuit.
At the University of Toronto's Grid Modernization Centre, Ali Hushiar and his team are running real-time simulations using super-powered computers to find solutions. One solution is smart technology. That includes sensors and software to communicate information along the grid, to make supply decisions faster and to minimize disruptions when the grid's under pressure. Climate change isn't the only factor putting pressure on the grid. So is increased demand, with more people using everything from electric vehicles to heat pumps.
We're going to need more wind, more solar, more hydro, more nuclear to be able to meet the challenges of the future.
And the artificial intelligence boom is another potential challenge. Massive amounts of electricity needed to run thousands of servers.
10 years ago, if we were told that 10 years later, one of your biggest challenges is going to be AI data centers, people would think that this is just science fiction.
The major challenge is meeting Canada's energy needs before demand outpaces progress. But with more frequent extreme weather events and more strain on the grid, that task is becoming more urgent. Ruxar Ali, CTV News, Toronto.
All right, speaking of weather, Noah Abel will be right back with our forecast. Stay tuned, that's coming up after the break.